2016 to 18. I'm excited to have this opportunity to share space with Marissa, who's my co-host, and Amory Archer, the anti-HR lady, who is one of our guests. She's one of our speakers of the summit. So yes, so Anne-Marie, introduce yourself. If people don't already know you, just introduce yourself.
Hey guys, this is Anne-Marie, the anti-HR lady of the anti-HR channel on YouTube and the anti-HR community everywhere else. And what I do is I try to teach employees, especially Black people and specifically Black women, how to understand their workplace rights, how to assert those rights if they believe that they are being violated, and how to make their employers pay them to leave discriminatory, hostile work environments. I always say you should leave, but not without your coins.
Not without your coins. That's right. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Marissa, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I am Marissa Price. I am a social worker. I am a healer, freelance educator, systems disruptor. And yeah, I'm excited to co-host the 2025 Job Liberation Virtual Summit. We have so many amazing Black women speakers coming to share their knowledge, resources, expertise, which is very critical during these times as we see like our rights being stripped away at every turn.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about, given what is going on in the world right now, particularly in the United States, right? What is it that Black women need to know, and what do we need to do to protect ourselves? So Anne-Marie, what do we need to do? What do we need to do right now?
I think we need to sit down somewhere and mind our business. That's what I think.
Okay.
The cape, stop trying to save people who don't want to be saved, and now is a time for really intentional with each other, and for us to mind our business and sit our asses down, especially this Saturday. I don't even think we should watch it on TV.
Oh,
I think we need to be spending Saturday thinking about what we can do to protect our communities and ourselves, and to engage in intentional economic resistance. That's what I think Black people need to be doing. And Black women are the ones who make a lot of economic decisions in our community, need to be leading that. Where our money goes matters, because I really do believe, as someone said this week, that the way that you deal with racist rich people is to make them poor.
Oh, okay. So what are some of the ways, because I know you are a shopper, Anne-Marie. I know that you do a lot of shopping. Okay.
I like to put it on. Well, what I'm doing is I'm shopping in my closet. I'm spending. I'm not saying I'm not spending at all, but I am very intentional now about where I'm spending my money and who I'm spending my money with. I am on a Amazon no buy for the foreseeable future, because I just don't feel like I should be contributing to making Lex Luthor richer. I don't think he needs.
That's it.
I'm not helping to pay for his wedding in Venice. I'm not helping to shoot his ass into the sky, into the moon, or wherever the hell it is he's trying to go next.
Right.
So I don't want to help contribute to that. So
yeah.
I don't believe that we should engage in making ourselves miserable. So I'm traveling. I'm getting ready to get on a plane very soon again, and I'm doing things that I enjoy. But I'm very intentional about where I spend my money. And I feel like we are in the United States is first and foremost a country that thrives on exploitation and hypercapitalism and constant consumerism, right?
True.
The easiest way to kill the beast is to consume less. I'm not saying don't consume at all, just consume less.
Right.
Cut your consumption by 40%.
Ooh.
Look at your closet. I tell people on my other channel, look at your closet before you go buy. You have to go to a wedding. Do you really need a new dress? If you need a new dress, buy it from a Black designer. You need a new pair of shoes. Do you really need a new pair of shoes? Or do you already have it and you don't realize it? Because so many of us have so many things that we don't even know what we have.
Right. So
now
economic power.
Looking at, do I really need anything? We really don't need anything besides water and food. Everything else and somewhere to sleep at night and a roof over your head. You don't even really need a car, because I don't have one and I don't feel that I need one. So there are a lot of things we have been taught to want, right? We want a lot of things. And if you want things, you can decide you want less things. I don't believe in like, I'm not going to buy anything and I'm not going to do anything, because then you're just making yourself miserable and you won't be able to keep it up.
Right.
And I think now is the time for Black people to travel and go get out of America and do other things, and not just sit and doom scroll every day and misery scroll every day. Joy is instance, going out and enjoying yourself discombobulates white people. When they see you and you happy and they miserable, it discombobulates them. Go out
Right.
and get them happy. You don't
Right.
have to ask their permission. Go to
Right.
brunch at a
Right.
Black restaurant, preferably. Go out and have some fun. Just don't spend it with people who wouldn't hire you
True.
and on
True.
people who would not do anything for you.
True. And I think it's showing not only that as Black people we have economic power,
They
but
do.
also that we can take our goodies somewhere else. If you don't want us, if you don't want our goodies, we can go somewhere else. You can pivot. We can
Sure
move.
enough.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not a tree. I tell people all the time, you're not a tree. You can move. You don't like where you are? Move and take your dollars with you. Blue states are calling.
Yeah.
I'm like, people need to move. You got to go where you're going to be safe.
True.
We need to be thinking intentionally about how to keep ourselves safe amidst their craziness. But let them go and march. Let them go lay down in the middle of the street. Let them go and put on their little pussy hats and do whatever it is. Let them do it.
Yes.
We don't need to do that.
Let's not even watch it either.
We don't need to do it, because if it would work for us, we would already be free.
True.
Okay. So clearly when we do it, it don't work. Let them go do it, because you know what? They have successfully done it. They stopped the whole war in the night before I was the Vietnam War by protesting. White people can protest and get what they want out of the government. Let them go forth and save their democracy.
True. True. What would you say to, or what is a tactic you think it is for Black people sometimes to say, I'm not going to leave this country because our ancestors fought to be here, or are we paid too much just to stay here?
Is that true? Here's my question. When someone says my ancestors fought to be here, right? My answer is that true? Is that really what your ancestors fought for? Or did they fight for you to be free?
Oh, good
What
point.
did they fight for really? They wanted you to live in an equal society and to have self-determination, which you still do not have in the United States of America, I would argue. So is that what they really fought for? Or did they fight for the right for you to be free? And freedom means being able to do whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want. Trust me, because I am now free, been free for about 4 years now.
Yes, yes. And I think freedom, yes, go on, I'm sorry.
So that's my thing. I'm like, is that true? Because we say a lot of things right now in our society, and we see a lot of things. And one of the most important things for us as a community is to be more discerning and to engage in critical thinking. And to not just go along with whatever somebody says on the internet that sounds good. You need to stop and think about what people say. So when somebody says to me, well, my ancestors, your ancestors didn't come from here. They were brought here, and they were brought here against their will. Is this really what they wanted for you?
Good question. Good question.
That's my question. I don't believe my ancestors were brought to the Caribbean, and I don't believe that this is what they wanted for me. They wanted me to be free.
Right.
And freedom means being able to do what you wish to do.
Right.
And how you wish to do it.
Right. And there's other ways for liberation, right? So in terms of, like, we've been protesting forever, right? And you see where it's gotten us. So what would you say to Black people? Because you said we need to stay at home. We need to stay at home and not watch or anything like that, right? So
I don't think we should even engage in it, because I'm just like, this is their job. I really believe that it is time to let white people save their country and let them become the moral center of whatever needs to happen next. Okay? Not us. We didn't create this mess, and we cannot fix it. If we could, it would be fixed already.
True.
We have done everything, and it is now time needs to be done next. Whatever that, they love to talk about how much it's their country. They need to go forth and save it, or not.
And so what is it that we as Black people, so in addition to kind of bowing out from Saturday, right, these protests, what are some other things you think we need to do? So you said, limit our...
I believe the central, honestly, what I just said is really what I think Black people need to be very intentional about engaging in economic resistance, because it works. Right. Okay. And so if you can impact the stock price of Tesla and the stock price of Target, you can also impact the stock price of Amazon or Walmart or whoever else you don't choose. If we choose as a community to collectively spend our money somewhere else, we can do that. We can do that. And
So
we
true.
should do it. So that is
So
what I think we should spend our time figuring out how best to do that and then doing it. Right?
okay.
So it's
Okay.
not one-off piecemeal, but that we're actually seriously doing it. And
Yes,
so
yes.
Memorial Day shopping is coming up. Where are you planning to spend your money? Or are you spending money at all? I think Black people need to go on vacation outside of America. I think the travel industry in America needs to suffer. I think
Mhm.
Americans are going to have to suffer, and I just don't want us to disproportionately suffer because we didn't create this. So we need to go out and get our happy, and they need to go out and experience everything they voted for on November 5th.
Good point. Good point. Now, because on our channels, Marissa channel, my channel, we talk a lot about Black women leaving toxic jobs, and the summit is coming up, everybody. So again, register for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit. The information's in the chat. Okay, that's registration information. S. Emery Archer, the anti-HR lady, is one of our speakers. So because we talk so much about Black women in toxic jobs, can you talk a little bit about how the current political climate might be showing up for Black women in the workplace, and what are some of the ways we can protect ourselves without giving all the goodies away about what you're going to share during the summit?
What I tell people all the time is now is the time is to document everything. If you weren't doing it before, now is the time to do it, because white folks are showing their asses at work, just to be blunt, because they think that they can. And so, but the reality is that the anti-discrimination laws are still the law of the land. Nothing has changed in that regard. Now,
Okay.
what this government is likely going to do is not enforce a lot of laws. Because if there's nobody, if you're firing everybody, then there are less people there to do the enforcement. Right. But a lot of states also have anti-discrimination laws. So you need to find out whether you live in one. And if you don't, I consider moving. I'm very serious about people moving. I think there needs to be another great migration. Black people need to get the hell up out of the South and all of these places where they are not going to have as many rights, and move to places that are safe and take their tax dollars with them. I really believe that. I believe in economic resistance, because the only thing that people with money understand is losing money. And the same thing goes for your employer. So there has to be accountability. You have to demand accountability up to and including making people pay you to leave jobs and or suing them if necessary. The lawyers are very busy. They're going to be very busy now, because the courthouse is the one place you still have to go.
Yeah.
Right. So people need to understand that if you are having issues in your job, now is the time to act. Do not wait 6 months. Do not wait. Do whatever you got to do it now. So you need to be collecting proof of whatever you believe is happening, emails, screenshots, Teams chats, all of those things, and documenting what is happening to you and preparing to get the hell up out of these places.
Yeah. And I see a comment from one of my channel members. Please pardon my ignorance. What just happened? Nothing just happened. We're talking about the current political climate in terms of what's going on since this person has taken
It's happening
over.
every day.
Right.
It's happening every day because the government is literally engaging in psychological warfare on its citizens. So intentional psychological warfare, because they're flooding, and they said they would do it. Nothing they are doing is not what they said they would do. The one thing that no one can say is that they did not know.
Right.
They were told. They wrote it down in a freaking manifesto.
Right.
On the internet. It's still there.
Right.
They said what they would do. You chose not to believe them. And they're trying to do everything as quickly as possible. So they're flooding you, constantly bombarding you. I think another thing that we need to do is log off. I think we need to dedicate days to not being on social media.
Good point.
Especially live in the US. Because it's harmful to people's mental health.
It is. It's traumatizing, and it's constant traumatization. Yeah. And in terms of the, to remember asking, it's not something in particular happened just now. What we're talking about is this ongoing psychological warfare that we're experiencing, and how important it is for us as Black people, as Black women, to call a thing, like Iyanla Vanzant says, and to say, okay, this is what it is. What do we need to do? Right? What do we need to do to protect ourselves? And the other part that I want to say too is this psychological warfare, it's a way to keep us stuck. We're so fearful. We're
Because you're
exhausted.
constantly reacting. You're reacting all the time. So every time, I'll give you an example, because this is very frustrating to me. Because at this point, I feel like if we're in thinking and not reacting, you can predict these things. So last week, we find out that members of the current government are engaging in military planning and sharing classified information in a group chat.
Right.
Okay, where people talk to their mistresses and plan vacations and things like that. They're doing it in a group chat, right? Now, as a person who has a law degree and has a degree in political science and pays attention to politics and understands the Constitution, I immediately was like, that's not just incompetent and stupid. It could be illegal, right?
Yeah.
Because there's procedures about how you talk about these things and how they're supposed to be recorded and records kept about them. There's a situation room for a reason, right? But I'm thinking to myself, okay, what is going to happen next? The next day, I notice everyone is talking about Jasmine Crockett and Hot Wheels. And I'm like, what about the group chat?
Right.
Then the day after that, they drop an executive order about museums. What about the group chat? Right? And I'm frustrated because I see Black people who have, social media platforms talking about Jasmine Crockett and talking about museums. Okay. And it's frustrating to me because I'm like, but that's what they want you to talk about. They don't want you to talk about the group chat and whether not only is it idiotic, but is it legal to have happened?
Right.
What laws they broke by sharing that kind of information in a group chat. So now you look at, what are we talking about on the news? Museums and well, Hot Wheels is almost off the thing now, right? Why are we so easily manipulated?
Well, we keep going for the bait and the okie doke.
Why? And it's frustrating to me because I'm just like, we're not going to make it if we constantly, and I understand that people have platforms and people want their clicks and people ask me a lot, are you going to talk about this? And I'm like, no, because I'm not controlled by what somebody wants me to talk about.
Right.
And I don't make content just for clicks.
Right.
And so I'm like, we got to do better. I don't care what they do. I care about what people like me do.
True that.
And so I see Black people making, talking about, oh, well, she shouldn't have called them Hot Wheels. I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. You're having the wrong conversation. And you're literally doing exactly what they want you to do. And we have to start asking ourselves when people do things, why? Who benefits if I react to this? Who benefits if I think about this in this way? Because the reality is, Black people have never asked for museums. We never asked for holidays. We never asked for any of these things. We asked for equality. That is what we still do not have.
True.
I don't care about a museum. I don't care about any of these things. We know what our history is. They're the ones that need the museums. We know.
Right. We know all too well.
Now. We have to think now.
So don't get distracted. And the thing about it too, Anne-Marie, is that I think the challenge is for many of us Black people, right? Because I see in the chat, people are saying, I just totally don't look at social media at all. I don't look at the news at all, right? Now, I think there's a danger in that because I think we need to be informed about what's happening. Yeah. But what I'm hearing is sometimes the extreme, right? Like, I don't want to watch any of it.
I would never say don't watch the news, don't look at social media. I think you need to take a break from social media and you have to engage in significant critical thinking when you engage with social media. You should not believe anything. People are just giving their opinions. And, and you know what they say about opinions? It's like a what? Everybody has one, right? And the news, whose news are you consuming? I don't watch American media. For the most part, I do not look at American media unless I just want to see this is what I'm reading on Reuters. What are they saying about this on CNN? So that I can see how much, space there is between the way that Reuters or AP is telling me something, or Al Jazeera is telling me something, or the BBC is telling me something. That's what I look at. Versus what the New York Times is saying, what the Washington Post is saying, because none of them are reliable. You have to think about who owns our news now. And so a small group of people control every aspect of your life in America.
So
They
true.
control your food supply. They control the news and what you get to know and what you don't get to know,
Mm-hmm.
right? They control all of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's very important, yes, to watch the news. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's smart to not watch the news, but whose news are you watching? I stopped
Mm-hmm.
watching American media. I've been out of the country for 4 years now. Before I left, I started
Mm.
listening to the local news in the morning on the way to work, so I could just know if somebody died, gosh, that I knew or got shot in the face. And then I would listen to it on the way home, and that was it. I wouldn't
Right.
watch CNN. I wouldn't watch MSNBC. I wouldn't watch any of them because what happened was I had an epiphany when I got sick once and I was
Mm.
home all day.
Mm.
And I realized that they were literally telling me the same thing all day and then letting other people give their opinions about some things with as if it was true,
Right.
right? And that there is not alternative facts, there is not alternative truth. There's truth and there's lies. There's black and there's white when it comes to what happens someday on a
Mm-hmm.
day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when
Mm-hmm.
I was young, people would come on the news. The news was 30 minutes in the evening. Walter Cronkite would come on for 30 minutes and he would tell you what happened. And then Wonderful World of Disney came on Sunday. I used to watch TV on the weeknights. And
Yeah.
now we got news for 24 hours. So they got to fill that with something. And what they're filling it with is garbage and
True.
making you think that there's both sides to every issue. And there isn't. Sometimes there is, but not all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it's truth and lie. Sometimes it's right and wrong. And there's no
Right.
equivocation about some of these things. But now
Right.
we live in a world where people want to believe us to believe that there is.
Right. So we need
Right?
to have critical thinking and we
Gotta
have
have
to be
critical
mindful of the
thinking.
source of the data.
Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
have to. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to always be able to go do your own research, read books. The library is still free.
True.
Read books. I have a list that I share with my followers because I'm like, we need to be reading now, people,
True.
right? Because anybody can create a website that says anything. Just because it's on a website doesn't mean that it's true. I've said
Right.
this to my child many times because I'm like, just because somebody has a channel, they are giving their opinion. And the question is it an educated opinion? Is it an opinion based on something? Or is it just someone talking and saying what
Yeah.
they think? And it's okay for them to say what they think. You
Yeah.
have to have the ability to realize that that doesn't make it real and that
Yeah.
doesn't make it factual.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, Emery, I would love to because I want to hear Marissa that they're asking for a millennial perspective too. So we're
Oh.
gonna pull you into this too. But what I'm curious about and what I've been having some reflections about the psychological warfare and the
Mhm.
strategy of it, to me, it's the way the exhaustion, the distraction, the fear,
So you
right?
stay
Because I think
resistant.
about it like with our brain, right? So
Yeah.
our brain is like in survival mode, right? So
Mhm.
we're like, oh my God, fight, flight, or freeze. I need to just hunker down. I need to just stay put. I shouldn't travel. I should not look at the news. I should just stay put, right?
Mhm.
So when that happens, when it shuts down all of our prefrontal cortex, right? So the planning, organization, judgment, that's offline. And so what we're saying is the importance of use discernment about what information, right?
Mhm.
You need to stay informed, but you also need to be able to no, tone down the fear. Like
Turn it down.
don't fall into the
Mhm.
okie doke, right? They're trying to get us so terrorized and fearful that we're stuck. So what we're saying is get the information you need, get in community with other Black people, Black women, so then you can access that prefrontal cortex and make the moves you need to make, like leave the country or to go to a different job or whatever you need to do. But how do you access that part of your brain?
You
And I
have to
think
give your brain a break. And so I really believe that I spend maybe now an hour a day, if that, on social media. And it's very intentional on my part. And I
Mhm.
have to engage with social media because it's part of, I have a channel, the things that I do. But I spend no more than an hour. And if I feel myself getting aggravated, I go watch old General Hospital episodes on YouTube. That's what
Oh
I
my
did for
God,
most of yesterday because I was just like, I'm not watching nothing on here. I'm
true
gonna watch me some
fantasy.
Sunny
Yes.
and Brenda clips on. I'm not joking. Y'all think I'm joking? I'm watching me some Sunny and Brenda clips from the night. Listen, it was a
Give
wonderful afternoon.
yourself a break.
Listen, I gave
Yeah.
myself my brain a break because
Yes.
because you need your brain to function properly.
True.
And
True.
I spend a lot of time helping people think critically about things, so I cannot allow my brain to be absorbing a whole lot of bullshit, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of it is BS. And
Yes.
so I just was like, I'm not watching no social media today. It's Sunday. I'm going to watch me some. What shall I watch? And then I said, I want to watch me some Brenda and Sunny clips
Okay.
today.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
When I
Yes.
was, yes, because all of us were the same age when I was watching it, I came to realize. And I was like, I'm going to go watch me some Brenda and Sunny clips
Yes.
and
Yes.
chuckle and laugh at the absurdity of it all. And that's
Right.
what I did.
Yes. And you know what I love what you said,
That's what I
and
did.
I'm gonna go to you, Marissa. I love what you said was being intentional about having times to laugh and 'cause, right, because things going on right now, people can feel like I don't have time to laugh. This is so crazy. We're in
Oh,
crisis
you have
period.
to
We gotta
make
do that.
time to laugh.
You
You
have
have to make
to.
time for
You have
joy. You
to.
have to make time.
Yes.
And before I watched Sonny and Brenda clips, I sat and put together the clothes I'm wearing to go to my upcoming trip to South Africa. No
Okay.
social media. I didn't do any social media yesterday. You
Good.
have to, and I put it on my calendar. No social media, and I'm going to try to do it again next Sunday. No
Mm-hmm.
social media. Just do other things. Go for a walk. Go sit
Yeah.
outside. Touch some grass. Literally. Okay.
Grounding. Yes. Ground
Get off
ourselves.
of Facebook. Get off of Threads. Get
Yes.
off of TikTok. After TikTok pulled that BS at the beginning of the year with the President Trump is coming to save us. I haven't been back on TikTok. I just need to delete my profile because I'm not going back on there. Because
Right.
I felt that it was manipulative before, and
True.
then they just basically said yes, we are, and I
Yeah.
said, you know what? I don't really need to be on TikTok to do what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Y'all will find me on YouTube because I'm not messing with TikTok. And so
Yes.
I just went over TikTok, which means it's less time for me to waste listening to people just spouting opinions about all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
If it's based in fact, it's not. It's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Right.
Most of it is not. It's
Yeah.
just people's opinions. And we sit there and it's like you could be on TikTok for hours and not even realize just consuming BS. It's not
True.
healthy. It is
True.
not healthy.
True.
This whole thing,
Boundaries.
I was literally saying to someone yesterday when I first got on social media, because I think social media has a lot to do with where we are and how we got here. Okay.
Mhm.
And what accelerated it. Now was America going down? And but I think that social media helped to accelerate
Mm-hmm.
the descent into authoritarianism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought, and I said, when I first started getting on social media with Facebook, I got on Facebook because it was a way to connect me to people I hadn't seen, my family, friends that I hadn't seen. I said,
Mm-hmm.
but then over time, it changed into something else. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
with Instagram, because everything now is about making money.
True.
Everything about the United States, about America, is about who gets to make as much money as possible. And enough is never enough for these people. And the
Right.
direction we are going, if something doesn't happen, y'all gonna be slaves. They literally taking you back to the feudal system. The man
Right.
said the golden era was the 1800s. Well, where were Black people in the 1800s? What was
Right.
happening in the 1800s? Was that really a good time for everyone? It was a very good
Okay.
time for very rich people. They didn't even have to pay taxes then.
Right.
It wasn't a
Right.
very good time. And the period he talked about is what precipitated the Great Depression. But again, one must read books. One must be a student of history to understand these things. I beseech
Mm-hmm.
Black people, please let us go back to reading books. Let us go back to the library, buy books. And I think it's going to be very important to own books because they don't want you to.
True. True. True.
Buy
True.
books.
True. True.
Get them before they own books, have books, read books, because that's
Yes.
where you will learn and understand what is happening, because the past, in fact, is prologue. None of this stuff is new.
That's right.
This
Right.
is history repeating,
Absolutely.
right?
And we need to be aware
So
of
to
that.
understand,
Pay
you have to be
attention.
aware. You got to read. You cannot block all information out. Is not Ignorance will not save you here. You have to understand what is happening so that you can align your actions and know what you need to do. But I really do believe in this go around. Black people's most beneficial act right now is economic resistance.
So plan, economic resistance, wellness as resistance,
Yes.
joy, rest,
Joy
all
as resistance. We need to be out there spending money with each other, and line dancing. Let them march.
Yes, yes. So Marissa, they asking for you, girl. They want to hear from you,
Yeah,
girl.
that's me.
Okay. So share your perspective too.
Yeah, social media has done so much harm to our mental health. And I was just talking about this a few days ago, right? When it comes to constantly doom scrolling, as Anne Marie mentioned, it functions on our outrage, right? And so just having that awareness to be able to take yourself off of the apps
Mm-hmm.
for a extended period and really, like she said, get back to books. Because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, especially for millennials, our attention has been just like completely turned towards social media, right? For news, for information, for history.
Mm-hmm.
And just because someone has a large platform, that doesn't mean that they're an authority, right? That doesn't
True.
mean that they know what they're talking about. And so
True.
it's having that level of discernment, as she mentioned as well, is so important. And just realizing what it's there for. It functions on your outrage. It wants you to stay on the apps as long as possible.
Yeah.
And so, like, taking yourself off of that and prioritizing yourself, your joy, your mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get back into critical thinking, which books really help you do.
Mm-hmm.
And also nuance. I feel like nuance on social media like has completely been destroyed.
Right.
And so getting back to these really core elements that are going to keep you rooted during
Yeah.
these times, because they want us distracted. That's their goal, right?
Yeah.
To just be looking all over the place. So stay focused
Mm-hmm.
on your roots, really rooting
Mm-hmm.
yourself in the truth in what has actually happened, because they're trying to distort that as well.
True.
Yeah.
And I would add that I think social media really tries to divide us as Black people
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mhm.
And we have to be very mindful of not, before it was the so-called gender wars, right?
Mhm.
So there's still these things that try to divide us. So we have to be mindful of that, right? So Marissa, what about as a millennial, right? Because I think Emery and I are both Gen X, right? So as a millennial, what is the millennial perspective about pivoting, right? So we're talking about economic resistance, right? But we also talk about pivoting. What is more of a millennial perspective about economic resistance, also pivoting?
What comes to mind first is like freelancing, right? So kind of like taking ownership over your skills, realizing that you don't
Mhm.
have to stay in a toxic work environment, which can be difficult when you don't have things like retirement savings, right? I'm
Mhm.
just starting out in my career, wound up in a toxic job. So now I'm having to have a whole different strategy for how to generate income and
Mhm.
do things like move abroad, right? So these things, like realizing that you have the power of creativity always to imagine new possibilities. Even if you don't have these things, even if you aren't well established, right, in your career to be able to make a pivot in that way, you
Mhm.
still have your skills. You still have your interests, right? You can still tap into your networks and be able to use your skills how you see fit. And
Mhm.
so that's what's coming to mind when it comes to pivoting as a millennial. If you're just
Yeah.
newly established, just newly entering the career field and you find yourself in a toxic job.
Yeah. And I love how we're able to have like more of like a intergenerational conversation amongst Black women because we have common experiences, but it might be somewhat different sometimes based upon our generation. So, Anne Marie, can you share just a little bit of goodies about, as a speaker of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, just a little bit about what are you going to be talking about during the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women?
I'm going to be I'm going to be telling Black women how to leave, a little, what are the key steps you need to take. If you believe that you are in a hostile job, how do you determine whether that is a job that you can leave? Well, you can always leave, but how can you leave in a way that enhances your life after that job?
True.
And, money may not buy happiness, but it does provide you the options to acquire many happy moments.
Okay. You
So,
got some quotables. Okay.
so access to money matters, right? And so I do not believe that people should leave money on the table, especially now,
Mm.
right? And so I want us to understand that first key thing is to understand what you're dealing with. And there are
Mhm.
lots of flags that we don't pay attention to. But
Mhm.
understanding what are the things that you need to do in order to leave these jobs on your own terms, not somebody else's, and how to cash out. What do you need to think about if you want to cash out of those jobs? Because I really want us to leave in a position to make decisions about whether we want to stay in the country, whether we want to go somewhere
Mhm.
else, whether we want to start a new business because you need money to do those things,
Mhm.
right? So, I always tell people that really horrible boss could be the key to your freedom.
That's
If you know how
true.
to turn the key, he could be, he could open the door to a complete life. Because that's what happened to me.
Fund your new life.
I'm very grateful for those racist white folks that I had to work with.
Ooh.
Because I wouldn't be sitting here in Mexico just coming back from buying my fresh fruit at the market and talking to you if it wasn't for them racist white folks. So I
Right.
thank God every day for putting them in my way.
Wow.
And when he did it.
Right.
Right. And so
Right.
the question becomes, what are you going to do? I always ask people this all the time. It's one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite movies, which is The Untouchables. What are you prepared to do? People are going to do things all the time in the world and in our lives, right? But there are a lot more things that we have control over than we choose to believe we have control over.
True.
It's easy to tell yourself you can't do anything, because then if you tell yourself, then you don't feel no obligation to do anything. It's much harder to say, yes, this is happening to me, but I have the power to do this thing, and this thing, and so I'm going to do it. Acting is harder than sitting and doing nothing.
That's true.
That's why people choose to sit and do nothing.
That's true. Action, right? There's one thing about thinking it, right? And so the fear of leaving a job, right, can be terrifying, but we also need to take action, because if we don't take action, you stay stuck and you continue to be harmed in that situation.
And continue to be abused and mistreated. And the reality is that as Black people, and especially Black women, we have a very toxic relationship with our government and with our country from the day we were born. Right? We have collective PTSD, and we have collectively been socialized into a toxic relationship, which makes everything else, which makes accepting mistreatment across the board easier for us, because we're used to it from just our place in society.
Yes.
So telling yourself that you deserve better is a revolutionary act.
It truly is.
Okay? Because it is.
Yeah.
Choosing yourself is a revolutionary act.
Yeah.
Choosing to put yourself first is a revolutionary act, because that is not what we are conditioned to do. We have been literally told as Black women that part of our worth is saving everybody else.
Absolutely.
And it is time for us to reject that idea. It is not our job to save everybody else. And especially people who don't want to be saved. That literally will drown you while you trying to pull them out the damn lake. They will drown you because they don't want to come out.
Exactly. Right. So do we sacrifice ourselves? And the other thing is, and Marissa, I want to get to in a second, is as Black people, as Black women, we have been told to center everybody else over ourselves, right? We've also been told this lie that if we center ourselves, we're selfish, and I cannot stand that. So centering ourselves is not selfish, as Audre Lorde says. Self-care is an act of self-preservation, which is an act of political warfare, right? This is political warfare right now. So for us, what we're trying to model for Black women is that there is another way. We deserve better, and we need to reject all that brainwashing that we have been taught, that our jobs define who we are, right? Your job is something you do. Stephanie Perry says, a job is something you do to make money. It is not who you are. So if you yourself, and the second thing you say is your job title, pay attention to this, okay? So Marissa, can you share because you're also a summit, you're not only the co-host, but you are also one of the summit speakers. What are you going to be talking about during the summit?
So I'll be talking about take your power back, reclaim your skill set, basically, and rebuild your self-worth, which is huge, right? Because a lot of us, our self-worth is kind of like diminished, right? After being in a lot of these toxic work environments. Your belief in your skills, your ownership. Sometimes these workplaces tell you that they have ownership over your skills, even though you brought them in and you honed them, continue to, even in a toxic workplace. So it's realizing that you have ownership over them. You can take them anywhere you please, whether that's to another work environment, whether that's to freelancing, entrepreneurship, right? All these different options that exist, and how to really sit in the fact that you are so incredibly powerful. And that's why you were targeted, right? It's not that anything is wrong with you. You're just so powerful, and people are intimidated by that. So that is the basis of my session on May 17th.
Yes, so well said. I just want to as you were talking, I was thinking about Bell Hooks, and just to paraphrase her, and she said that people see our power, right? They see our worth, they see our power, and they respond to us in a way, not that they don't see it, but because they're terrified of it. And so they try to extinguish it and make us think less than. So we need to remember that when we're in these jobs. So I'm also a presenter at the summit. Okay. So I'm going to be actually doing an Afroflow yoga session. So I'm in the process of becoming an Afroflow yoga teacher. So Afroflow yoga is a mix between yoga and African dance. So I'll be doing a session at the summit for Afroflow yoga. So everyone register for the summit. I'm so excited to have Anne-Marie here. Marissa and I have been working really hard on getting this summit together. So excited that Anne-Marie is here today, the anti-HR lady. Check out her channel. Check out Marissa's channel as well. I see a number of comments in the chat. People are also talking about ways that they are supporting themselves. You talk about General Hospital. Somebody else said watching 227, right? So whatever you need to do to help yourself feel better. Also comment, having women support groups like this is really helpful as well. Yes, it is. And my hope is that watching my channel, watching Marissa's channel, watching Anne-Marie, anti-HR lady, all of these channels on YouTube are safe spaces for us as Black women to speak our truth, but to also know we have options, okay? But listen, sis, we're sharing options with you, but you have to take the step. You have to move forward. You have to act on this, okay? You have agency. It might feel overwhelming, but we all have options. So everybody, this was really boom, like I totally got mixed up with today, right? So this is kind of like, where'd this come from? Okay, didn't have my stuff together, but we are here to share information with you. So I'm going to give the last words to Marissa and Anne-Marie, and then we're going to wind down. So Marissa, any last words before we wind down? Oh, my friend Colette Elizabeth. Hey,
yes, she's in South Africa.
Well, thank you for joining. So last words, Marissa, and then anti-HR lady, and then we're going to wind down.
Yeah, I think it's really important to preserve yourself, right? Self-preservation is going to be key during these times. So like we mentioned during the live, scheduling breaks from social media, prioritizing yourself at all costs, providing or like making a pathway for yourself outside of a toxic work environment if you're in one. And that's what the Job Liberation Virtual Summit is here to help you do. So please register to attend. And there are privacy concerns, right? So you will not be shown on camera. Attendees will not be shown. And you'll also have the option to change your name within the platform if privacy is of concern for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. And it's recorded. So if you can't come live, you can still come to the sessions. Okay. Anti-HR lady, last words.
I would just like us to individually and collectively commit ourselves to being in community with each other and protecting and supporting each other. I think that I get a lot of feedback from the people who are perpetrating a lot of the harm are people that look like us. And so I think it's very important for us to realize that sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. And so we need to commit ourselves to protecting and supporting each other at work. And that's not always easy, but it still means just because something is hard doesn't mean that you should do it. And so we have to be willing to protect each other. You see somebody doing something, to go have a conversation with them instead of going and have a conversation with 10 other people. That's not them, right? You know, Kimani and I are getting ready to talk about workplace mobbing, and this is important that I'm going to be mentioning because sometimes it's not always them, sometimes it's us. And so it's really important at this particular time that we have to recommit ourselves to being there for each other and protecting each other and looking out for each other and supporting each other's businesses intentionally and not holding each other to higher standards than we do them, right? Their ice is not colder and their water is not wetter. And we are, right? And so we need to be serious. We need to walk the walk. Now is not the time to just be talking about it. Now is the time to be about it. And you don't need to march to do these things. These things are things you can do every day. And so we have to commit ourselves to doing it.
Yes. Woo! Well stated. Well stated. Okay. So again, everybody register for the second annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, which is May 16th through 18th. Early registration is open now and it ends April 15th. The registration link is right there on the screen. It will also be in the description section of this video. As Marissa said, privacy consideration as Black women, we don't want people in our business. So we know that, okay? You will not be on camera, okay? Your names will not be listed. If you have a question or comment you want to make, you can change your name in the platform. Do not let the fear of the slave catchers trying to get you. Don't let that fear stop you from accessing information so you can pivot and pivot to freedom and pivot to a better life. We want you to live a better life, okay? We want us to get out of this whole situation, not only surviving, but thriving as Black women. We have to recognize we're in community with one another. As my business name is, Lifting as We Climb. We are lifting as we move forward. We cannot be stepping on each other as we're lifting forward. We're not going to get anywhere if we're stepping down on other people, other Black women. We cannot do that, okay? So again, register for the second annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit. Again, the Anti-HR Lady is one of our speakers, as is Marissa, I do like Everflow Yoga. So there's so many different 15 dynamic Black women speakers, okay? So if you want more information about the summit, you could check the video that I'll put in the description section, sharing more information about the summit. Give this video a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know to suggest this video to other Black women. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Anne-Marie, Anti-HR Lady, subscribe to Marissa Price's channel.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, oh yes.
Oh, summit merch. I see your t-shirt.
What?
We have a whole bunch of summit merch, yes, too. Also linked on the site. You're listed on the screen.
Beautiful. And guess who did this? Marissa Price. Okay, Marissa Price created this whole thing. And guess what? We did a journal too. Guess what I got? I got the journal that we have.
Oh, yeah, that's cute.
Okay. And wait, what else do I have? We have a mug as well. Okay. So we'll be sharing more information about the merch. Okay. Just a reminder of liberation. Freedom is here. Freedom is here. We need to access it. Do like Harriet. Okay. We got to walk in silence. Do not be broadcasting at your job about how you're trying to get out. Do not do that. Hey, Alicia Renese, I see you, girl. Thank you for joining. And Alicia Renese is one of our speakers too. Hey, sis.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes.
And stop inviting every damn body to the cookout. I'm getting ready to make gatekeeping great again. I'm getting ready to record a video about that. Let us make gatekeeping great again.
Yes. And look, and get your fan. This is not the typical fan. This is not the fan for the dance, boots on the ground, or whatever it is. Dance, okay? Dance, listen to music. Those are cultural forms of healing. We will survive and we will thrive. I'm telling you, we will. Okay. Thank you. She said stunning merchandise.
Thank you.
You have a good eye. Okay. So everybody, again, register for the summit. If you've already registered, tell another Black woman. Okay. Because we're trying to uplift. If you want to donate for a Black woman to come to the summit, that's an option as well. We talked about in the other video, which I will add to this video at the end. Okay. So everybody, again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you later. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.